Monday, everybody, and welcome back to the Couchside Judges. I'm Scott Fontana. Follow me on Twitter at Scott_Fontana.
And I'm Dan Urban. Follow me at the Dan Urban. Follow the podcast at Couchside Judges and subscribe to us wherever you listen.
And it's time, once again, for you to 5-star review.
And as always, we talk judging in MMA. Head on over to abcboxing.com to read the scoring criteria.
You know, I was thinking I should probably do a second run through of what my social handle is.
Okay.
You know, like you say it slower the first time, and then you say it quicker the second time, so you don't. You know.
Oh, Mr. Progressive over
like
here.
the Progressive commercial, exactly, the one turning into your parents, because that's when I, as I was telling Dan, when I call, and I only do this for like businesses, or if it's like I'm trying to reach out to like the school. Well, not the school because they have my phone number, but if I'm calling a business and I want them to call me back, I do say my phone number slow the first time, you know, number, no. But then the second time, I'll repeat it back a little faster, just to make, I try to make it so that you don't have to listen to the message a second time, because I hate when I have to do that too. If they just give me the number one time and I'm like, I got 6 numbers down, I'm like, damn it, I don't have them all. So I have to go back and listen to it again. I hate that. So I always try to do it twice. And hopefully that makes it easy enough for them to do it just one listen through. I try to be considerate. And then the Progressive commercial just makes fun of people like me. And it made me feel sad that I'm turning into my parents.
All right. Those are good commercials.
But you know what I did appreciate of those commercials, Dan? Maybe I've mentioned it even on the show. I don't even remember. But the one where they're at the end, they're in their movie theater, right? When they're at the movie theater. And there's the woman who's clapping.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And as you know, because I've seen movies with you before, that is an extreme pet peeve of mine when someone claps at a movie theater. So when he goes to her, no one who made the movies here, I'm like, it's literally my exact train of thought. So that's where I'm not turning into my parents.
Yeah, it's not a premiere.
Yeah,
where the people are there. When
I go to a Broadway show, I stand up, I clap, because they're right there. I want them to know, hey, you did a good job. But I don't go to a lot of Broadway shows, but when I do, that's what I do. And if I went to a movie premiere. And I did one time go to, it was a friend of ours, someone I used to work with, significant other. They made a film. They directed a film. Okay. And they were there. So, yeah, I stood up and clapped. Right. That was protocol, right? But unless, Robert Pattinson was in the theater when I went to see the Batman, I'm not clapping.
Yeah, you don't have to clap.
Anyway, we're
same thing as when the plane lands. Don't clap.
Well, you know what? At least they're there.
At least they're there, yeah, but I mean...
And you're just clapping for yourself that you didn't die, and that's okay.
Okay. Congratulations, I'm still alive.
I would be happy to not die after flying through, air in a giant metal tube. 130 years ago, they weren't doing that. Anyway, we got to get back to fights here. We actually got a lot of rounds to do because, Dan, we're doing a double feature here. We're going to do UFC and Bellator.
Yes.
Full slate. We do not usually do that.
We typically don't, no. This was a big card for Bellator.
Usually I gotta twist your arm to do any Bellator.
I enjoyed the main card. I didn't get to see the prelims yet.
No, I mean, but honestly, the main card, even on paper, it looked superior. It did look better than the UFC card. That was undeniable.
Yep.
It really wasn't. And they also had lost a fight along the way. Well, so they gained a fight that was moved up to the main card, and then it was scrapped entirely. We don't have to go deep into it. It was that light heavyweight fight, Christian and the Limbs.
Okay.
But anyway, yeah, we've got a lot. We're going to start with the UFC. Before we do that, of course, we'll go through quick little starters. And if I think the lead should be Bellator, because it was the biggest fight of the weekend here. Patricio Pitbull got the unanimous decision victory over Adam Borics.
Continuing the streak.
Yeah. It's Bellator really just kind of can't catch a break with their 5-round main events.
Yeah, 5-round mains just not delivering.
This one, I mean, there were some split rounds here. We'll get to those later on. So it wasn't like a clean sweep, but there was one card that actually was a clean sweep there. So it kind of, and I think no matter how you had the scorecards there, it was hard to watch that fight and say, hey, I wonder if the other guy won. Everyone knew. All 3 cards had the same winner in Patricio Pitbull.
The crowd was booing.
Crowd was not into it.
Pitbull was not happy with the crowd.
No, he didn't like that either. But what are you gonna do? He got the win anyway. But neither here nor there. Realistically, I just want to ask you one thing about Pitbull, because at this point we've kind of seen him run his course at 145 pounds. I thought this was going to be a legitimate challenge, and it really wasn't. And I think that shows just how far ahead of everybody who can make 145 pounds he really is. Just not interested in seeing it anymore. Question is it's now starting to come up about the idea of him maybe going down to bantamweight. It's a subject that's been broached before. Last year, I asked him about it actually last week in advance of this fight. And, what he had told me, and he's, kind of starting to say this a little more, it's getting asked a little more, is that he wanted to do this fight, the one that he won over Adam Borics. He wanted to defend his belt. He wants to defend his belt one more time. And then after that, he thinks he might go down and challenge the bantamweight title.
Okay.
That was what he had said to me a week before this fight.
Okay.
What do you think about the idea of him going down there and potentially being the first, as far as major organizations go? I can't think of anyone who's won a championship in 3 different weight classes. What do you think of the idea of that? Do you like it? Do you not want him? Because obviously it's a deeper cut.
Here's the thing. I think he mentioned also exactly what you just said. He was planning on fighting Pico if he won tonight.
Right. Didn't go that way.
That didn't happen. So now, then he's like, so maybe go to 135 now. But I think 135 is very good division in Bellator.
I mean, part of there's timing involved here because they're still going through the Grand Prix. So it's not like he can do anything about it anyway. It might make sense for him to take one more fight before that, just for sheer timing and staying active.
I thought I read somewhere have him fight Pettis for the belt and then have the winner of the Grand Prix, the unify it.
Ah, okay. That would be interesting.
I read that somewhere.
That's an interesting thought. I don't hate that thought.
Don't know if they're going to do that. I mean, I think he could. I mean, it's Pitbull, so he could do it, but that is a tough division.
But also, it's like he's not a big guy, but also he's kind of thicker for 45. Like he's not so big that he couldn't make it. But I think he's one of those guys that routinely comes. I mean, he told me he usually comes to the cage between 160 and 162. So he's 15 pounds above his weight for a featherweight fight. This is specifically for featherweight. So he's already cutting and gaining quite a bit of weight back here, right?
He'd probably have to lose a little bit of mass.
He walks around. He said, between fights, he's walking around between around 175, between 170 and 175. So
big.
Yeah, but a lot of guys walk. This is just walk around, dude. I mean, he's not training at that point, but yeah, I mean, he would probably have to really diet to get down there and do it in a healthy way, right? So yeah, that's the only question I have is can his body really get down there? In theory, he can because he's not big, but I don't know. It's tricky. If he can get there, I'm fascinated by the idea that the fact that he could potentially accomplish that, getting a 3rd belt, because of course he won the lightweight belt at one point. He pretty much just gave up the belt so that his brother could fight for it.
Okay, good brother.
He was just done with it. I mean, I don't think he was that interested in competing there anymore. He beat Michael Chandler up there. It's not like he beat nobody up there. The guy could go over to the UFC and compete at either weight class. I'm sure he is a fascinating fighter. I forget who posed the question, but someone posed the question tonight, and we're actually talking right now, not long after these fights, right? Someone posed the question: are he and Fedor the 2 best fighters to have never fought in the UFC? And I had to think about it, and I don't know, I probably still have to give it a little bit of a deeper thought, but I'm inclined to say yes. Off the top of my head.
Yeah, it's close. I got to think about it.
You'd have to give it deeper thought, right? That's fine. You don't have to commit to this for life, We don't have anybody that I think record checks us at home. If you do, I really hope you find something else to do. May I recommend PlayStation 5? There's a few games that I could give you to play that are really good. Don't sit there and keep records of our show. That's just silly. That is silly. But I have to think if he's not number 2, he's probably number 3.
Yeah, well, he's on the list.
Really be? Yeah, he's definitely on the short list, and it's unfortunate if we never do get to see him kind of go over there and challenge some of the other names, because I think he's just.
I mean, I saw the payouts for tonight, so I don't know if.
No. If he's making a comfortable living, I'm not saying
I'm saying the payouts were less than I thought.
Well, what was his payout?
150.
I bet you he can make.
I think
close to that in UFC.
I think he'd get more.
Does he want to though?
That's the other thing.
He's comfortable there. Yeah. He is comfortable there.
Also, what do you get? What's he getting outside sponsorship? So,
but one thing he also mentioned to me though, and this was kind of what I made this our little headline thing for our story when I talked to him, right, for the Q&A, was that he doesn't necessarily think that Jose Aldo is done fighting. He got the sense like maybe he didn't want, like this wasn't necessarily his decision to stop fighting. And the idea that, hey, if he was able to come over there, that would be an interesting fight. Him and Aldo and Bellator. That would be fascinating.
I'd be up for that.
I could get behind that hardcore.
Yeah, even though they played their Jose Aldo tribute tonight.
They did. But think about it, like how many let's not say pay-per-views, but you put Patricio Pitbull against Jose Aldo up against any UFC fight night, I'll bet you that's the better fight.
Yeah.
That's one of the best fights you can make outside of like championship fights, I feel like.
Yep.
That'd be fascinating. I would love to see that. I don't know that we're ever going to get it. I kind of believed that he was actually done because I got the sense. Remember we were talking about it last week, I think, or one or 2 weeks ago. We thought that he was, or at least I thought that maybe he just doesn't want to chase it. If he's not going to get a championship anymore, what's the point? So I hope he stays retired. But man, if there's an opening, man, I want to watch that fight. Anyway, before we don't need to keep going too deep into this. Let's stay with Bellator real quick before we go to the one UFC thing here. In the Aaron Pico fight, you mentioned Aaron Pico. He fought on this main card here. It was kind of, I don't know if it was necessarily a showcase fight, but what they were hoping was that he might get a win, right, in theory.
Yeah.
And that he would be able to challenge, like you said, Patricio Pitbull. Does not get the win. Jeremy Kennedy gets the win because he looks to have dislocated his shoulder, right?
Yeah.
Something like that, right? Scott Coker said there was no bone fracture or anything like that. He said afterwards. So at least there wasn't that kind of, damage to the clavicle like the ringside doctor was speculating that there could be.
Yeah, I think they said it was either broken or it dislocated at the end of the clavicle.
Sure.
So.
And I am not a doctor. Don't come to me with your
either.
maladies, but
I'm not
it
a
sure
doctor.
looked like it was a dislocation. I mean, we've seen that injury before. I've seen the way that shoulder pokes out before.
I'm not a doctor, but I thought it was a bicep tear or a pec tear.
Okay.
The way he started pointing at it at one point.
Well, I was looking at the way the bone was
I noticed that
poking
later.
out.
Yeah,
that was the thing that I noticed the most was the way it was poking out. And I've seen fighters like that before in fights where you have two.
Yeah.
One that comes to mind too was it was actually a Jim Miller fight, if you remember, way back, because he's had a billion of them in the UFC.
Yeah.
But I think it was Steve Lopez was his opponent.
Okay.
It was like early in his UFC career, like one of his first maybe 10 fights, so like 30 fights ago, right? Somewhere along there. But yeah,
that his 10th fight was 30 fights ago.
Something along those lines, yeah. But yeah, it was like Lopez, like, I don't know, he threw his shoulder out or something like that, and he like pointed to it, like indicating like he was done fighting. Total opposite of Pico here, who's like trying to get,
like, no, I'm
his
good.
corner's trying to get it back in.
He's ripping it.
It was wild.
That was brutal.
That was wild watching this, and I'm thinking to myself, like, the referee's gonna do something here. The referee just happened to be the man who helped instruct us in the ways of MMA officiating, particularly refereeing, when we went up to the training at ABC, and that's Blake Grice.
Yeah, it's like,
so when we saw him in there, I'm like, okay, this is somebody who's been through it. He's been through the ringers here. But this was obviously a very unique situation anyway, where you don't see a fighter having their shoulder try to be yanked out to fix it in the corner.
It wasn't even getting instruction. It's just like, get my shoulder right.
It really was focused on just getting his body ready again. And he's kind of putting on a face there, Pico, and he's got, it's like, oh, I'm fine. He like can't lift his arm all the way up over his head.
The doctor asked him to lift his hand up.
I guess let's cut to the chase here. What did you think of the way Mr. Grice handled the situation?
He got the doctor's opinion. Doctor looked at him and was like, and he's like, you're the doctor. You tell me. And he's like, I don't think so. And then Blake made the decision. Okay, we're not fighting.
Yeah.
Can't lift your arm up. We can't put you out there with one arm.
Yeah.
We're here to protect you from yourself.
Yes.
No matter how much you want to fight, that's our job, to protect you from yourself.
And that was more or less like the summation of the conversation between Josh Thompson and Big John McCarthy on the broadcast too, because you had the fighter coming at it like, no, I want to fight. This he got robbed of the situation. Come on.
Yeah, come on.
And then
Josh.
Big John comes in, at least with a level head in this one, and says,
At least Josh walked his comments back.
A little bit.
A little bit.
A little bit.
Because he was a little way too far.
It was crazy, guy. Come on. Chill. I thought it was handled very well. It was unfortunate that it was handled well, but nonetheless it was handled well, and it was fortunate for Aaron Pico, because the guy couldn't defend himself.
He didn't lose anything, and like his opponent, who was his opponent?
Jeremy Kennedy.
Jeremy Kennedy. He said it was getting easier, and I was like, I think something's wrong.
Yeah.
But I'm just going to keep going. So
No, I mean, that's just not his job. That's not his job.
Mm-hmm.
Good on him. I think a rematch would be okay.
Yeah,
I'm okay with a rematch. Yeah. It's unfortunate that, especially for Kennedy, that he's in this situation where he got to win and now he's got to almost might have to prove it again, right? But
yeah, I mean,
okay.
At one point, Pico stops fighting, and he's trying to yank his own shoulder back in. He's putting no defense in anywhere. He's just kind of just hanging on, hoping to get to the end of the round.
Yeah, I mean, look, it's just an unfortunate situation, but I do think I think everyone handled it well. I think they did the right thing in ultimately protecting Aaron Pico. So I was glad to see that.
Mm-hmm.
And good job by, again, our instructor, Blake.
Yeah, that was awesome.
Mm-hmm. And one thing before we get to the UFC rounds, we will go over to UFC here. Obviously, it was a good win from Xiaonan in the main event over Mackenzie Dern. We've got a round in that fight that we'll discuss, but the only thing I want to talk about before we get to this card, because honestly, the card itself really didn't interest me very much going into it.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't love the decision that ended up happening midweek where they said, okay, close to the public, close to the media. They're not talk about why whatsoever. I couldn't get an answer out of my UFC people I deal with. No one would say anything. Dana's like, oh, yeah, we'll give you guys a week off. They had a week off last week. They have a week off next week. He's just being a dude. Mark Zuckerberg obviously showed up. It was rumored that he was there. It was rumored that he rented it out. Dana called it total BS. Apparently it wasn't total BS, maybe just partial BS at most, because he's there.
Yeah.
Obviously, you're not as bothered by this as me. What do you think of it?
I don't care at all. Because if I was a billionaire, I'd be calling Dana White every weekend, hey, can I have the Apex to myself? But I would also include my friends. I would ask.
But he doesn't have friends. Well, that's not true. He's probably got a lot of friends on Facebook.
Yeah, he does. So I would do the same thing if I had the money. I'd be like, hey.
Do you think he sent like a Facebook invite out, like an event?
He might have.
And then, everyone left it as...
nobody
read it because no one's using Facebook anymore?
If something comes out of this with like VR, that's a thing. Maybe it was a VR meeting. He wanted to see how
metaverse,
how it could possibly be incorporated in UFC. Maybe we'll have a judge's cam now. From we have to put one of those Oculuses on.
I feel like he doesn't care about that.
But I'm just saying, maybe we have different. You get a cage side view now by just putting on a VR. There's a VR cam set up or somewhere.
Look, I don't hate the idea of that kind of thing being available, but that doesn't seem like that what this was. This was just him and his wife sitting there while he's... And look, granted, you could tell he's an actual fan, right? Like, you watched him throughout this event. The dude was into it in a way that fight fans are into it. I will respect him for that. I would absolutely not take away from Mark Zuckerberg that he seems like a legit fight fan, confirming everything that had been reported recently, right? And he's sitting next to his wife who's reacting in every animated way possible, which was like, it was like hilarious and distractingly so at certain points. Man, why are you bringing her? Bring a friend. He must have at least one friend left. I know he doesn't have most of the people that were, depicted in the movie. And the Winklevoss twins would only fight him if they get there, but man, just bring somebody who gives about the fights. I don't know. It was like, he's just a dweeb.
That's what I would
He's
do.
a dweeb.
Okay.
I'm just saying he's a dweeb.
Yeah, well.
And I did not love that they did. Obviously, I'm biased here. I get that. I did not love that they wouldn't let the media in. Now, I'm not even somebody who would have been there. I'm not in Vegas. I don't go to Vegas to cover these fights, but I did not love that the precedent established here. I didn't love that the fighters didn't get to talk to media like that. It's just not the way to handle it. I don't think that was right. I don't think it was right to not let the fighters' families be in there. I thought it was handled poorly. And it was like, why the smoke screen too? I don't understand the stupid like dancing around it kind of thing that Dana did. Like, we all know what was going to happen. It was lame. I'm obviously worked up about it.
See, I would invite certain media like to come and just have a good time. Do what you want. If you want to cover it, no, go for it. If you want to just enjoy it, do it.
A lot of famous people have come to UFC events before and not been bothered by the media.
Well, Spencer can come. Dan Tom. Jay can come. Aaron can come. And we'll start there.
Seems like you're only naming people that you've interacted with.
Yeah, that I like.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I like other people too. I just don't know them yet.
What about Matthew Wells?
He can come too.
Sure.
He's good. You're just going to have a nice big party there. Whoever wants to cover it, you can cover it. You don't have to cover it. Just enjoy the fights. Be a fan for a night. And I would do that every weekend if I had $1 billion.
I think it would have been fair to have at least the media be able to come. And the families of the fighters. That bothered me. Really bothered me. And what's his face? What's his face, of course. John Anik.
Mm-hmm.
And this is not a knock on John, but when he says this, he says, oh, there's a lot of tension here. Like, you can hear a pin drop. I'm like, no one's in the arena, guy. No one's there. Of course you can hear it. And this is not Anik's fault. I don't mean to jump down John's throat, but it's like I heard that. I'm like, come on. We know why you can't hear anything. It's just like the early days of the pandemic. No one was there. Anyway. All right, I'm done ranting about it. But all right, we got 5 rounds in the UFC to get to. We'll get to the Bellator rounds later. Let's start with UFC for contested rounds, starting with Jan getting the win over Dern. This was a majority decision, 2 48-47s and a 47-47.
Mm-hmm.
All comes down to round 5, and we're only talking about a 10-8, 10-9 split here. So, Dan, what happens in round 5?
Well, Dern comes out swinging like she knows she needs a finish to get a win.
Did.
Jan, she's returning fire, but I think Dern landed a little bit better in that exchange, and then dumps her on her head with the classic headlock type hip toss, Ronda Rousey-esque that you mentioned, the Rousey effect.
Yeah, the Ronda Rousey legacy takedown that we've seen, that we only see in women's MMA. For whatever reason, it's pervasive in women's MMA and like doesn't exist in men's MMA. I just don't understand why. It's the only thing I can think of is there's the Ronda Rousey effect.
Yeah, it was a pretty good one. She dumped her on her head.
But like I said to you too, if anyone's going to get away with it, it's going to be Mackenzie Dern, because if she can throw that takedown, she's not going to worry about her back getting taken. If there's some sort of scramble to be made, she'll probably end up on the back.
Yeah.
It's if anyone's going to do it, it should be someone who's great on the ground as her.
Right.
But anyway.
Yeah, so right after the takedown, she's in side control immediately, slides over, mounts with 4 minutes left, and just starts punching. Not the strongest shots, but a lot of them. She had an opportunity for an armbar. She didn't take it. A sit-up armbar. It was right there.
I'm sure, like I said, I'm sure she knew she couldn't get it because she knows better than you.
Yeah, I would have went for it. Anyway, she continues to punch, and then ends up taking the back because Jan rolls that way. And from here, she's attacking the choke. Nothing really is close there. So she's just throwing a lot of punches. Like I said, they're not super heavy, but there's a ton of them there. It's total grappling domination for about 4:05 maybe.
Good duration on that.
There's a final 10 seconds where she attacks an armbar. It slips, and Jan slips out and just starts going crazy, wailing strikes, missing every single one of them.
She didn't even get one in there. I thought she might have gotten one, but I mean, she's not landing well.
I think Dern lands like 3 from the bottom, just going crazy,
you know what? You may
wailing.
Be right. Yeah, she probably got it landed at least. Yeah,
I think we definitely got domination. I think you got duration. Damage is the one that's not the strongest, but I think there is enough of it. So I'm there, 10-8.
I feel like the way judges that we talk to sometimes explain it, there probably was not enough damage for most of their taste. Is why we're talking about this just being maybe 2Ds. And that all-important damage D that we've seen in the last year and a half or so, of course, that's the one that's more elusive, right? So I can understand why the judges in question in Nevada, of all places, did not go for the 10-8 here, except for Judge Mike Bell. But man, this feels like the type of round you're supposed to say is different, right? It's a different round.
It's a one-sided round.
It's a one-sided round, and it's a different round. I feel like you need to acknowledge that, and I understand that there's nothing in the language that says, oh, a different round needs to be awarded differently, right? But there is language that's still on the books that says 2Ds can consider, and we have 2Ds here. So by the strict language in the book for this, I feel like you can go 8, and I'm going to go 8.
Yeah.
So just like you. And just like Mike Bell, it was Judges Sal D'Amato and Genichiro Kamijo went 10-9 for Dern. And again, I get it. Like if the premium is placed on damage, it's probably not there. I wouldn't even fight very hard for it. I don't think it's there. But man, it feels like the right thing to do. And that would have made it a 47-47 if we had what do we have on this one actually?
A couch side over.
And if we had our way, it would have actually ended up being a majority draw. for Mackenzie Dern. Well, not for Mackenzie Dern, but
I actually scored it. I actually scored round 2 at 10-8 as well. So my final scorecard was 47-46 Dern.
We don't have time to go over that.
I know
now.
we don't have the time to
we
go
don't
over
have time.
But I'm pointing it out that
right.
that I had 2 8s in that fight.
I
And
get you.
also Sean Sheehan did not have an 8 in round 5. He had an 8 in round 2. So he ended up on 47-47, but with different round being an 8.
Sheehan's not a judging guy. He doesn't know what he's talking about.
That's true.
But yeah, so Judge Bell, you can eagerly await for your couchside override in the mail.
Mm-hmm.
But unfortunately, Mackenzie Dern did get the loss here. It just feels tough to go that way. I don't know. Like I said, we could talk about round 2. We're not going to.
Mm-hmm.
I think we can just move on, right? We do have 2 more fights, 2 rounds each, and 3 of the remaining rounds are 10-8 splits. It's all 8s and 9s in the UFC pretty much, except for 1 round. So let's move on to Mike Davis, who got the victory over Vyacheslav Borshev. I always forget. I can't say his name right, but it's Slavaclaus. We know who we mean. But they did not go his way. It went Davis' way. 30-26 twice and a 29-28. So we have 2 rounds that are divergent here from the same judge. Let's get to it. Round 1, sir.
Yeah, slower start. Borshev looking to the body, pumping his jab, some leg kicks. But Davis wants to wrestle. He gets him down, lands a big knee to the head, some follow-up shots. Borshev works his way back up to the feet, lands a couple shots, but then gets taken down and mounted. And Davis just bashes him with really good shots for pretty much the rest of the round. Big damage in the round, 10-8. Elbows, punches. It was high damage.
Yeah, I feel good with that one. I don't really have much more to add. I think we've hit a 10-8 here.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's the better score to get. Is it offensive to not go there?
Offensive? I don't know if offensive.
Egregious.
I don't know about egregious.
Okay. All right. So what you're saying is it's not the worst thing that Judge Doug Crosby was the lone 9 here.
I mean, Borshev had some decent offense on the feet. Nothing great.
But that doesn't need.
I know
to
it doesn't.
Be, yeah.
It doesn't need it. Maybe he felt Davis didn't have all that much time smashing him. It was about I'd say maybe a minute and a half of smash. Which is a lot of time.
But how peak is this damage we're talking about?
Kerry Hatley was getting ready to jump in there.
I feel like once you start to get to that kind of talk, though, that's where we ought to be considering the 8 pretty heavily, right?
Yeah,
it's there. The damage is high.
Yeah, there is high damage. Decent, good to rate. Yeah, you know what? I'm on. I think 8's the better score.
I think it's the much better score here. Yeah. I don't really love that Doug Crosby didn't give the 9 here. 8 9s. I'm always a little more permissive of it not going the other way, just because the language changes all the time with it, or not the language, but the interpretation of it. Right? It's so in flux, and I get it. So I'm a little more like, all right, fine. But as far as that goes, like, if we put it on that same scale, I still feel like it's on the end that's like, come on, this really should be an 8.
Yeah, well, no, yeah, I hope all rounds like this would get the 8.
Yeah. So, but anyway, so yeah, Doug Crosby was on his own for the 9. We went the other way, same as Mike Bell. Again, the worldwide leader in the 8s, and Adelaide Bird, who is not always the most likely to give an 8, or especially when it's a split. But here she was, I think she was in the right.
Mm-hmm.
Good job, Judge Bird and Judge Bell. Round 2. This is our only remaining UFC round that is not a 9-8 split.
Yeah, the winner's in question here.
Yeah. Yeah, let's get to why. Talk about what happened.
Yeah, first half of the round, Slavaclaus is winning. He's doing well on the feet. He lands a couple solid rights, but then he gets taken down and mounted, stuck in a pretty good arm triangle. Then he starts eating more elbows and punches to the face. Davis kept trying to go back to that arm triangle, never really got it, but it was a solid attack, and he ate a lot of damage again. So 10-9 Davis here.
Yeah. Davis, it's a 10-9 Davis.
Yeah, Davis won this round.
This is a 10-9 Davis. Like, we were talking about this a little bit, like right at the end of the round or after the round, right? It was right after the round. This, I get what you're saying. You were kind of saying to me beforehand, like, okay, in the beginning of the round, Borshev is having some success, undeniably so. He landed especially that one right that the broadcast team really loved.
Mm-hmm.
And I think he's absolutely ahead. But then it goes down, and if you're talking about a pendulum, the pendulum most definitely by the end of those 5 minutes swung Davis' way.
Yeah.
It just did.
And for reasons unrelated, I wish I could have scored this round for Slava.
We'll have to get into those. Yeah. But no, this is...
No, it wasn't gambling related, no.
No, it was not gambling related.
No.
You've given up gambling on fighting, if I understand it.
Yes.
It beat you up enough.
Yep. No, it didn't. It didn't beat me up.
Oh, no.
I was ahead when I got out.
You were?
Yeah.
Oh, well, that's the way to do it. But no, this is the score that actually has me much more up in arms than the 8-9, right? Because the 8-9, again, I explained why. Here, I think there's a clear winner in this round. I think it is Davis. I think it's a round that had some offense that went the other way. But, this is almost like, we always say like the tale of two rounds, right? This is a tale of two rounds.
This is two
but also,
rounds.
It's two different halves of rounds. Like, they're not equal.
Right, yeah.
And that's where I have a major issue with it, is that it definitively goes the other way, in Davis' way.
That's a reason why I don't like the idea of, well, most of the fight took place on the feet, so we're going to score that more heavy.
No, that's a bad way to do it. I don't like that at all.
So that's why I don't like when Big John says things like that.
Yeah, that's like an antiquated way to do it because they don't teach it that way. We went to the ABC and they made no mention of that type of way to go about it.
Like, so if the first 4 minutes is someone winning on the feet, but not like crazy amount, but decent amount, then they get taken down and get completely dominated for 1 minute. We're gonna wait a striking heavier? No.
Yeah, I don't like that. So, but I mean, I don't think that's well. Who knows? I mean, Doug Crosby's been doing this a very long time. He also, again, had this round in the minority score for Borshev. And, you always hear, like, oh, yeah, you want to leave a good impression with the judges at the end of the round. Man, who left a better impression at the end of the round within 2 minutes of clear dominance and damage on the ground from Davis? And it still wasn't enough, right? Like, if that's not going to happen, like, come on, let's dispel the myth of you need that late takedown to steal the round. God, no. That's obviously not what happened here. But no, I don't like this score going the way it did from Judge Crosby. I really don't. I don't think it's a good score,
Yeah.
But at least Judges Bird and Bell, they had it for Davis, and ultimately the right man won on all three cards. But yeah, I didn't love the methodology here. I don't think this was a good I don't think this is a well judged fight from Doug Crosby. Sorry. This is the way I feel.
All right.
And then our last UFC fight. Again, we've got 2 rounds here as well, and these are both 8-9 splits involving the same judge here. So let's look at rounds 2 and 3 of Raoni Barcelos getting the win over Trevin Jones, 30-27 twice and a 30-25. Starting with round 2.
Yeah. So Jones, he's throwing a lot. He's throwing fast shots, hard shots. I mean, he's missing by about 3 feet. And then he eats a punch that backs him up against the fence, followed by a big running knee from Barcelos. They get back to the middle, and Barcelos drops him with a right, gets on top, lands big elbows and punches. He wasn't really going too hard in the volume department on these, but he landed some heavy ones, and coupled with Jones doing almost absolutely nothing, 10-8 Barcelos.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think this is a 10-8 Barcelos round. I don't have a whole lot to add.
So he cut him with an elbow. His blonde hair was turning red.
It was, like I said, it was a nice free dye job that Barcelos was giving. That was nice of him to do that. So we were both on the same page as Judge Junichiro Kamijo here, who had the 10-8. Unlike judges Doug Crosby and Mike Bell. We already talked about how Doug Crosby's giving out 9s pretty much only tonight, no matter what the situation, apparently. But Mike Bell, that one surprised me. I was surprised that he didn't go for the 8 here.
Could have been his angle. Maybe he didn't see them.
Yeah, for sure. So. Absolutely. I mean, I don't think this was as egregious necessarily as, and again, egregious probably still tough when we're talking about 8-9s, but on the scale, I think this is much more like, all right, it's a little closer to could go the other way, but I feel good about the 8. I like the 8 here.
Yeah, I'm happy with my 8.
So, yeah, and so we both feel like we like how Judge Kamijo did it. So what does that mean for Judge Kamijo?
Couchside override.
Now, I won't put it in the mail yet. I want to try and save on stamps because he is he's also the out judge on this 8-9 split in round 3. So let's see if he's getting 1 or 2 in his package.
Yeah, this round basically Jones is a punching bag that throws a few feints and moves around the cage for you. Once in a while he'll throw a strike at you.
What a depressing way to be described.
Barcelos stings him good to all targets. One of them wobbles him pretty good, backs him against the fence. And then obviously it goes back to the ground. Barcelos instant mount, lands solid elbows here, punches right when he lands in mount, He attacks Ezekiel very briefly. It's not there. Gives up on it and returns to just punching and elbowing. I think we're at a 10-8 here again. And again, what helps is Jones just has nothing to score really at all in this round.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I went the 8-2, but this one I thought was even closer to going not necessarily there. I think it's more easy.
This one, yes, okay. This one was I'm not married to this one.
Yeah, okay. Just more like seriously dating, like
casually,
not quite ready to introduce them to your parents, but you know.
Yeah.
I'm taking the metaphor too far.
Yes,
that's all right. It happens sometimes, but yeah, no, I agree with you. But yeah, I think this is the one where it's like, okay, I could see why it could kind of go the other way.
Mm-hmm.
But nonetheless, we still ended up in the 8 column, which again we shared with Judge Camijo. So what does that mean for Judge Camijo?
Couchside override.
And we will now send 2 couchside overrides through the mail. That will not get there. Now, one more thing, Dan, I actually do want to circle back a little bit to the Mackenzie Dern fight, right? But we're gonna get to the Bellator rounds in just a moment. But I just had another thought. The fact that this isn't a 10-8 round here from the judges, and I guess I sort of understand the reasoning, right? But on the whole, I'm just thinking to myself now, like, what is it that kind of I'm curious how often actually. Let me go this way. I'm curious how often we actually get 10-8 round scores in especially the lighter women's divisions. I'm very curious if there's any sort of correlation to like infrequency of 10-8 rounds based on maybe lighter fighters, right?
You got a very in-depth data spreadsheet that you may be able to filter through that.
I don't know. I don't know anything about data. That's not what I do.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. No, you're right. Honestly, I really think I'm going to kind of look through this too because I'm curious. Like and I'm not saying you have to gift a 10-8 just because women maybe don't hit as hard, and some of them do. I mean, there's absolutely true, but there's like probably a perception out there that maybe that isn't the case, right? But at the same time, we have 2 Ds here. Very clearly, we don't have damage in the most, thorough way, not the most over-the-top way. There's some damage, but it's not the most over-the-top. And that's why I have a problem with the idea that we kind of need damage to get there, is we have to have rounds that are dominant rounds in different ways. And I think her round in round 5 is dominant.
Well, I think
and it's not, I mean, it's dominant not just in the sense of the definition of one of the Ds, but it's a different round, right? Like I say.
It's a different round. That's the 4th D.
It's a D, different. I like it. I didn't even think about that. Yeah.
Well, I think it starts with just getting rid of the can consider.
Yeah.
Like, don't leave it so open.
I know, and that's really where it comes down to too. Is the ambiguity there? It kind of creates these situations where judges can't get on the same page quite so easily, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's more forgivable when they can't because there's no reason to think they have to be on the same page. Unless, look, if there's some sort of very clear damage dominance duration there and it's, plain to see and doesn't go the other way, then it's like, all right, come on, guy or gal. But yeah, when it's 2, then it's like, okay, you can't even really argue it. It's just, they have their opinion and someone else has their opinion. But yeah, it definitely gets frustrating, the fact that there's too much ambiguity in there. But nonetheless, I am curious if there is. I want to see where the 10-8 rounds are happening most frequently. I'm going to start looking into that.
Okay.
We don't have a show next week. If I get the time to do it in advance, maybe I'll talk a little bit about some data.
We have a show. We just don't know what it's about yet.
Right, yeah. We're going to have a show. That's true. We survived the rocky road that we were on a few weeks ago. And, we almost quit. I don't think we ever shared that story, but after we got the recording ended, Dan and I got into a major fight. I actually knocked out one of his eyeballs and he put it back in.
Yeah. I do that every day.
That's weird.
Yep.
Yeah. All right, that didn't happen. I lied. Anyway, let's go to Bellator.
Bring on Bellator.
We got some Bellator rounds here, and I will say we have 8 rounds to discuss. There is a 9th Bellator round that we will not be discussing. We could not get the information on which round was split. It was from the post-lim fight won by Keanu Diggs over Ricardo Sejas. I would Sejas. I don't know. Didn't get to watch the fight. Didn't know which round to watch, so I just kind of skipped it. But I blame Bellator. Bellator's really got to share those cards. And look, I appreciate that they've done a lot better in terms of sharing the partial score cards and all these things, you know, mostly because I've been whining so much. Like I will fully admit it. This has been squeaky wheel on my part to make it happen, and it's gotten better, but even still, there's still things that don't happen. It's like, come on, you're the only promotion that doesn't get all of these up in some form of another. PFL doesn't share them publicly, but they share them with the media, and the media can then share them as they please. UFC shares them with everybody. Bellator, come on, I'm begging you, just help me out. Anyway, we do have 8 rounds of Bellator to get through, 5 of which came in the last 2 fights. So, you know, let's dive in. Let's go to the main event first with Patricio Pitbull. Got the win, of course, over Adam Borics. Unanimous, 50-45, 49-46, and 48-47. So the progressively closer in terms of score, although the first 3 rounds were all 30-27s for Pitbull, barring a finish or some sort of 10-8. He had already locked up victory after 15 minutes. So we're talking about essentially what ended up being superfluous rounds. Let's start with round 4. What happened?
Yeah, first 2 minutes, nothing really happens on Pitbull's end. Borics is throwing single strikes, nothing too much of any substance, really. He starts to find a home for that inside leg kick. Kind of slappy a little bit, but better than nothing coming back from Pitbull. But eventually Pitbull decides to throw a leg kick that completely off-balances him. Off Borics, lands a left to the head. Borics definitely has the volume edge in this round, but it's really a lot of just single strikes, a jab or two, a couple inside leg kicks. I think Pitbull landed heavier and was more immediately impactful. He lands a strong counter right in the final 30 seconds. Another good leg kick that off-balances Borics. I see both sides, but I think Pitbull's getting the better reaction, so 10-9 Pitbull.
Yeah, I mean, I can understand what you're saying here, and I think it's perfectly fine to go the direction you went. I did go the other way. I just didn't think the volume was quite there. You know, not that volume needs to be there, but I didn't think that the heavier strikes coming his way made up for the volume disparity. Not that it was huge either, but Pitbull just didn't throw a whole lot, dude.
Yeah, he
really did.
Definitely the first 2 minutes he took off.
He did. And honestly, Borics didn't take advantage. Like he's got to know at this point that he's down in the fight. I don't really know what was going through his head. You could tell his corner was getting frustrated. Jared Gordon was really trying to implore him in the before the 5th round. Like, come on, you got to get it down. You know, very unfortunate when you see that, of course. But yeah, I went for Borics. I thought he did enough. You know, it's all close. Right. I thought he did enough.
All right.
So 2 judges agreed with me. Actually, it was Marcel Varela and Chris Crail. Saw it the same way as me. Derek Cleary had the minority score just as you did. So we're split here. No overrides. It's just the majority still sides with Borics.
All right.
And the 5th and final round, sir. What happened here?
Yeah, Borics finally starts throwing some combos, and they're being answered by Pitbull with his counters. But I think Borics is still landing a bit better. But then Borics goes for that jumping knee that was the worst decision he made throughout the entire fight. He almost in a few rounds, every time he jumped, he ended up paying for it badly. He gets spun around, thrown on his back. Pitbull takes the back, while Borics decides to walk around the cage for a while like he's a backpack. Not much was really going on in this situation.
It's going to school.
But you know, Borics does end up on top on the ground eventually, and lands some body head type strikes. Pitbull elevates him, causes a scramble, grabs a Kimura. Jumps the guard to try to attack the Kimura. Eventually, it separates it from the arm. Is cranking it. They fall to the ground, and he uses the Kimura to sweep to the top. Doesn't keep the sub, but ends the round on top due to the sweep. I think it's 10-9 Pitbull.
For a round that I didn't think was like very hi-fi, it was kind of low fidelity kind of in terms of the action. There's not really like a whole lot of like high spots, you know?
Mm-hmm.
It's a lot of back and forth. You know, there's like a lot of ebb and flow to the round. Like there were a few times where I kind of started going one way and then I went the other way. Ultimately, I did end up at the same place as you with Pitbull. I thought that the Kimura attempt, was he going to be able to finish it from there? He was obviously slipping off. I don't know, but he did use it to sweep. It was a good attack, and I thought ultimately that was kind of where it put back over. But again, I was kind of back and forth.
Yeah,
I was back and forth throughout that round. I understand why it could go the other way, I guess, if you're not giving as much weight maybe to the Kimura at the end or maybe some other things along the way, because there's enough points in this round where you can see how maybe it doesn't swing all the way back to Pitbull the way we ended up.
Yeah, I mean, Pitbull really didn't do much with his back
No, he
control.
didn't. Yeah,
So
it was just there. I mean, there was no. It's a threat in the sense that he's on your back, and that's not ideal. But like, he wasn't necessarily in bad shape.
He was just a backpacker.
Yeah, he was just heading off to school. The way I'm going to get my kids off in the morning, just carrying their backpacks. Sometimes I end up carrying their backpacks for a little bit, but no, they're getting more.
They don't have the rollers. I see a lot of kids.
No.
Because I live next to a school. A lot of kids walk up the street with like a suitcase with like a roller on.
No. They have backpacks that are pretty much the size of them. So, I mean, there's not much in them. So sometimes when there's like stuff in them, it actually gets really hard for them to carry because they're not big guys. They're still little guys. So sometimes I'll help out a little bit if there's too much, but no wheels. No. But yeah, nonetheless, I can understand why Judge Varela had a boorish round here, but yeah, probably Pitbull is I think probably the way to go in my opinion, but not such a big deal. And also, it didn't matter. It really just doesn't matter. These two rounds, they don't matter. All three judges knew what had happened. Nothing happened in the way of coming close to a 10-8. So, yeah, I mean, the end result was secure. You take every round serious, right? But, like, at the same time, that it was split here, it's just not a big deal. Yeah, so that was it. That was it for that one. Moving on to the co-main event, where we're going to talk about every single round here.
Every single round.
It was a weird fight here between AJ McKee and Spike Carlisle. You know, McKee, of course, got the decision victory. 3 different scores here: 30-26, 29-26, and 30-27. So we had one judge who gave one 10-8, one judge who gave 2 10-8s, but one round the other way, and then one judge who gave all 3 rounds to McKee, but no 10-8s.
Yes.
Fascinating. Let's start with round 1. Let's peel it back here.
Well, this just crazy right out the gate.
Yes.
Spark Carlisle sprints across the cage and throws a running kick.
What a madman.
It's fireworks for about 30 seconds. Both guys winging punches. I don't think Carlisle landed more than 2, if any. McKee only had a couple, including a nice knee and a left that off balances Carlisle to the ground. It was kind of we had a weird camera angle to that. Not sure if he actually got dropped or not.
It's hard when they're moving like crazy like this, too.
He could have slipped. I don't know. It looked like a decent left, though. McGee does get a takedown and takes the back after, but Carlisle turns into him, gets on top. Carlisle's landing some decent shots while on top. About a minute left, McKee reverses, starts a scramble that ends with him getting mount, and then back with the body triangle locked in. He lands some good punches, attacking a choke, but Carlisle turns into him about 15 seconds left, and McKee lands some really good elbows from the bottom. And that's what puts it over for me. 10-9 McKee.
Yeah, I think that's well said. I don't know if I have too much to add. You covered a lot of ground here, obviously.
This was a wild fight.
Yeah, it was a wild round. I don't know that the fight was necessarily as wild. This round was definitely wild, right?
Yeah.
I ended up in the same place as you. I don't want to add too much more to that because we can talk about some other rounds here. But we both had actually the same as judges. Again, Judge Cleary and Judge Elliot Kelly in the 10-9 McKee corner, and it was Chris Crail who was split here for Carlisle. But I get it. There's an argument here. Sure.
Oh, yeah. Well, he had it. But, I mean, I think Big John scored it for him.
He did. That's right.
On the fight. So.
He did. Now, really, Big John, of course, is scoring it in a way that a broadcast is scoring. And he knows what he's doing, but he's also focused on doing something else.
I really like those elbows from the bottom, that final 15 seconds. That I felt secure going McKee because of those.
Yeah. So. I think that's fair. All right, but we can move on to the next 2 rounds here, which is all we're talking about here are degrees of victory for McKee. It's a wild dominance in this round, and some weird stuff happening in this fight. So what's going on in round 2?
Starts out McKee, first strike he throws is a head kick, partially blocked, but he lands some nice big lefts on the feet. Spike, it's a mixture of being tired and getting hit pretty good that he's getting backed against the fence. McKee takes him down. He's got him turtled, and he's landing some good punches while fishing for a choke here, while his father's telling him, stop choking him, just beat him up, because the choke's really not there. He is smothering Carlisle with his grappling, but it does get back to the V very briefly. McKee lands some more big lefts before taking him back down. Then he attacks this anaconda choke. Carlisle probably gets away with grabbing the gloves a little bit. A little sneaky action there.
Can't grade it.
So
doesn't matter.
Yeah.
It goes through.
So
whatever's there, it goes through.
McKee lands some strong knees to the body after Mark Smith tells him, get busy here. And then he attacks the Peruvian necktie. One of my favorite subs, by the way.
It's a fun one.
Doesn't get it, but he stays on top, lands some shots, rides out the end of the round. I think Carlisle in this entire round landed 2 leg kicks. He threw a couple more strikes other than that, but the only things he really landed were those 2 leg kicks. So I'm 10-8 McKee here.
Yeah, I feel good about a 10-8 here. I think that's fine. Hey, just a general thought here. If you ever go to Peru and you try to buy a necktie, you're going to be disappointed when it's not a submission?
I would be very happy because I believe from Modern Family, Sofia Vergara calls it the Colombian necktie, where they...
Yeah, but that's different.
Right, but they slit your throat and pull your tongue out through
right,
the
that's
slit.
different.
But I don't... Does it stem from that? I don't know.
Well, I mean, I imagine the name probably was inspired in some way by
some
something
violent
or other.
way.
Yeah. But like, this is also violent. It's a choke.
I know. Well, yeah. All right.
So you're not going to the necktie store in Peru, is what you're trying to say?
No.
I mean, I wouldn't go in Colombia. I understand.
Okay.
But yeah, I mean, maybe that's just like a code to get into like a cool jiu-jitsu gym down there.
Maybe.
I don't know. Anyway, we're neither here nor there. I'm taking it in weird directions, but yeah, we're both on the 10-8 McKee side, which was the majority round score here, and it was Kelly and Crail who had it the same way as us. Judge Cleary went the other way. I mean, I can understand it. I think I can. Why it wouldn't necessarily be an 8 here. I like an 8 here. I like it quite a bit, but like it's like we were saying before, like if you don't have all 3 definitively, like you can make an argument, you know?
Yeah.
It's just the way it is. It's unfortunate, but it's where we are, right? Round 3.
Yeah. Carlisle has a tad more life this round, surprisingly. He's throwing a bunch of shots early, but McKee's the one that's landing the better. Strikes here, good kicks to the body, and he gets a takedown straight to side control. Lands some elbows. The one, you just see the blood just... After he lands, it just opens up and starts spraying all over his face. Overwhelming Carlisle in the grappling transitions here. He ends up attacking solid guillotine attack. Blood, again, is squirting out of his head at this point. But Carlisle fights it off somehow. It was very tight. I thought this guillotine was quite tight. Carlisle briefly gets up and takes the back in a scramble. But it's short-lived here. McKee scrambles, locks up a toe hold, uses it to get back in control of the grappling, finishes the round having Carlisle locked in a super, super tight rear naked choke. As the bell rings, there's another 10-8 McKee.
I also have another 10-8 McKee here.
I think there was big grappling damage and big regular damage.
Yeah, no, I think we're hitting a bunch of beats here. Actually, in a lot of ways, I thought this was a better 10-8 round.
Yeah, I think I agree.
You think you agree? Okay.
Yeah,
I wasn't sure if I was going out on a limb on that one, but when I was watching, I was like, man, I actually found it easier to get to the 8 here. I don't know what the difference was for a judge like Judge Kelly, who was on one side than the other. But yeah, I thought, I mean, it's different, right? Because they're sitting cage side, they can evaluate it to a different degree than we can, right? We understand that. But yeah, I think it's okay here.
Yep.
So what does that mean for Judge Crail? He was the only one who had the 8, sir.
Oh, couch side override.
That might be the first package that we're sending the way of Judge Crail. It's in the mail. Judge Crail. Love some rhymes all the time. Anyway, that's it for the main card. We went all the way down into the prelims. We almost never do Bellator prelims, but we did it here. There were 2 split decisions, and then we had 1 extra round, which we're like, you know what? If we're already done the split decisions here, we got to throw that one in. And I actually thought that other round was probably the more interesting of the 3. We'll get to that last. So let's start with the split decision here. It's Weber Almeida getting the win over Ryan Lilly. 29-28 all around. We are split on round 1. What happens in this? Not a whole lot happens.
Well,
in round 1.
Round 1 feels like it's a bit of a feeling out process for almost the entire round.
Yeah, it felt that way, didn't it?
Almeida's got that similarity to a Machida.
Yeah,
karate stance.
You can understand why training with him.
Almeida landed a bunch of leg kicks. Lilly did have a nice right hand and a couple leg kicks of his own, but it's really all Almeida with the leg kicks. He lands a big right hook at the end of the round, and then a good head kick, which kind of put a stamp on it, I thought. I think Almeida 10-9.
I just think the Lilly didn't do enough. He had one spot.
That one right hand.
That was really it. And I don't think you can win even that round, which for quite a while was starting to feel like a Rose Namajunas Carla Esparza number 2 situation. It felt like that for a while. I was like, are they going to do anything?
Yeah.
I really was wondering what the heck we walked into. But it's I think we had enough output from Almeida, and I just didn't think we had nearly enough from Lilly, even though he backs him up. He kind of gets him off balance and everything. But like ultimately Almeida is okay.
That's one sequence of a 5-minute round.
Yeah, so. I just didn't think it was enough. He hurts him more, and he's able to follow up.
But
even if he's not able to follow up, if he really hurts him and it's like, man, he's really got to recover. It just looked like he was off balance, and he was like, okay, I'm back now. It just wasn't enough compared to everything else that happened. I felt like so. I ended up on the same page as you with Almeida, right?
Mm-hmm.
The judge who gave this one to Lily was Jacqueline Denkin. The judges who we saw it with, sir, Rafael Davis and Christopher Lieben.
The Crippler.
The Crippler. Look at this. This is the first time that we are talking about a Chris Lieben judged round on the Couch Side Judges.
Hey, we didn't. Frank Trigg wasn't there?
No, I don't think he was.
I didn't notice.
No, I don't believe he worked any of the rounds. Yeah, I don't know. But yeah, we knew that Chris Lieben has been working to become an official. He's been trained to become an official. Refereeing is what I had seen him doing before. I wasn't aware of. I'm sure he's judged fights before, but I was not aware that was something he was also doing. And sure enough, here he is on the Bellator card, judging a few fights.
Just happy he's up and about.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Especially he obviously had that health scare a while, so everything looks great from the outside, and happy to see it. And happy to see a fighter such as him really committing to the sport in a different way. He's putting his money where his mouth is. A lot of people just, they're like, oh, maybe I'll become a judge one day and show them how it's done. He's actually doing it. Good for Chris Lieben. And we saw it the same way as he did. How about that?
All right.
Yeah. And, there's one more split decision. This one's not judged by Chris Lieben. It was J.J. Wilson got the victory over Vladimir Tokov. It's another split, like I said, 29-28 all around. Comes down to round one. Same deal. What happened in round one?
Yeah, so I think this round really comes down to whose offense is more effectively contributing to the end of the fight.
Oh, that's kind of pretty typical of a round.
But I think this is... It could be like a poster child of a round, I think.
Okay.
To paint that picture.
I guess I see what you mean. Yeah.
So, Tokov, he's landing some strikes when he's in top position. This was mostly grappling-based round anyway. But it's anything that's really strong or all that effective immediately. All the grappling from Wilson is putting Tokov in immediate danger of losing. Really solid triangle. Good Kimura early. Offense is contributing to the end of the fight. It's 10-9 Wilson for me.
Yeah, I think so too. Do you see the argument the other way?
I mean, he's just on top, pitter-patter, kind of body head.
So you're just seeing it as potentially, and we can't speak for Judge Rafael Davis here, but you're saying potentially.
Maybe he saw it stronger, stronger strikes than what I saw on TV. I didn't think so.
Okay. Yeah, look, I ended up on the same page as you. First off, same way as judges Derek Cleary and Chris Crail. So. Yeah, we're in good company there. No offense to Judge Rafael Davis. Cleary has a ton of experience, and Chris Crail, I know, has worked quite a while in California as well. He's gotten a bunch of assignments, especially when the UFC comes to town. You see his name now in California. So, not that that's the reason you give it to him. I could certainly give it to any judge based on if we saw it the same way, right? But, yeah, I feel like this is the right call here. I think you're right.
Yeah,
I think it should be a
my
Wilson
argument is kind of echoing what Big John was saying on commentary.
Sure.
Which offense is contributing to ending the fight.
Yeah. So that is how it works, as we established. But, yeah, I'm okay with that one. Last round, because, again, we do not have that post-lim score. Sorry, and unfortunately, that was another Chris Lieben fight, too, so we will not talk about it. I don't know which way. Maybe he was the out-judge in that one. I don't know. He won't get his opportunity, potentially, to get a couch side override if that was the case. Maybe next time, Chris. But this last fight, again, not a split. It was 30-27 twice and a 29-28. Very, innocuous on the quick glance, right? Round two is where we're split. Sumiko Inaba got the win over Nadine Mandiao. I hope I said that right. But yeah, so I thought round two was honestly pretty interesting, though. Yeah,
I mean, it's really all Inaba on the feet. She's landing strong shots. She dropped her with the front kick to the body. Big shots on top in the ground situations. But she gets caught in a triangle, and it's a pretty tight triangle. She eats a couple shots while she's stuck in it. I don't think she's in that much danger. I think the arm is back a little bit, where it's not choking the other side of her neck.
Right.
But nonetheless, solid attack. A lot of danger there. I don't think it's enough to take back the round for all the striking Inaba had.
Right.
So I'm on 10-9 Inaba.
Yeah, I am too. And I was watching this round, and I'm like, how is this split? How is this round split? I'm watching for like 3.5 minutes, almost 4 minutes, and I'm like, what's going on here? There's nothing happening. I'm waiting for like a boom punch to knock it down. But no, Mandiao is able to get that submission in. But yeah, I think you're right. From the angle that we had on television, it didn't look like it was the most danger possible. It was a good. I think it was a good attack. Like in a round that was much closer, maybe you start moving it her way, right? I just don't think that situation that she was so close to being finished that you go the other way here. You know, I thought it was a real strong round for Inaba to that point. That was just made to be a competitive round, but nonetheless a round for Inaba.
Yeah. Before we move on from this round.
Well, we should say which judges too. It was Derek Cleary and Chris Crail once again. The Cleary Crail team is on the same page with Inaba. Judge Varela, who's a New York guy, by the way.
Yeah, very nice guy.
Oh yeah, super nice. Met him over at when we were up at the ABC. So he was the out judge on this one, but I can who knows, maybe he has a different angle at this, you know? It's hard to say. But well, you wanted to say something.
As I was saying, I'm not concerned about the score of this round.
Okay. Well, that's good. We don't talk about judging on this round.
Yeah, but it's officiating, official commission based.
Okay.
What I'm most concerned about in this fight is the fact that the blue corner fighter is wearing red fight gear, and the red corner is wearing turquoise / blue fight gear. Why does it have to be this way? Why? I mean, I understand California has a ton of events. Maybe they can't get or sync this up, but this is Bellator. It's supposed to be a big show. They can say, hey, maybe we just switch corners here. Maybe the person wearing all blue should have blue fight gloves to potentially not confuse the judges. These are the best in the world, so I'm sure they're used to it. They do it probably like, I don't know, there's a ton of fights almost every single night of the week.
California is exceptionally busy, yes.
So I'm sure they're used to things like this, but for a big show like this, I would try to, leave all potential things like this out of it. I don't understand why it confused me for a minute. I had to pause and say, okay, let me get my bearings and see who's who here.
Well, you're
real
an amateur.
Quick.
You're an amateur.
Yeah, but still, I think it's an easy fix to avoid simple confusion.
And are you aware that this was basically this whole thing about the color of equipment was what led to like a 40-minute just total distractionary piece from the rules voting that was happening in ABC?
No, it was not.
Oh yeah, so I was covering it, right? So I was up there in Niagara as Andy Foster's up there presenting two potential rule changes. The first of which was to officially allow 5 minutes to recover to match the way we do low blows. To do that for it was eye pokes. I believe it's eye pokes. I'm at this point in the night. I'm actually just kind of forgetting, but I'm almost positive it's eye pokes. At any rate, Andy's thinking, and he vocalized this several times, that he was thinking this was the one that was going to get everybody fired up. Not at all. Everyone pretty much just like, yeah, that's fine. It was like implicitly like, yeah, this is okay. They go over to the other one, which was to make it so that if you have a neoprene sleeve, which is already legal, the neoprene sleeve is already legal. It had nothing to do with like adding it or not, right? All we're doing is legislating the color that's allowed, so that you can only use either a neutral color like a black or a white, or the color of your corner, red or blue. If you're in the red corner, you can use red, blue, just like you're kind of asking for, right?
So Spike Carlisle's pink ankle sleeves versus McKee, would that be considered neutral?
No, no, they're not.
Okay.
Which is crazy that it happened in California. I didn't even think about that. That's a fantastic question. I'm sure Andy's like, well, why is this happening? I can't do an Andy. I don't want to insult Andy. I have too much respect for Andy Foster. But he's got a distinctive voice. Let's put it that way. Anyway, yeah, it was all like everyone was getting off topic about the idea of why these things should even be allowed or not for competitiveness. And it truly was just about the color. It was already on the books. Everyone's debating something that's already on the books. At some point along the way, all of these people sat in a room and said, yeah, approve. But now is the time that they decide to have debate over the whole thing. And it's just about the color. It was ridiculous. Yeah. It wasted a good 45 minutes. Okay. And I've already gone on too long about this too. But yeah, so it kind of ties into what you're talking about with the shorts color and that kind of thing. But no, I don't believe there's anything on the books that actually says you cannot do that. Maybe there will be, and then that will lead to another terrible distraction. I mean, the only
thing I can think of is maybe the gloves are custom fit for the fighter, and they don't know what color trunks they're wearing the night of the fight, and they got to put the order in ahead of time, obviously, for the gloves. I don't know how that works.
I couldn't tell you. I couldn't.
That's really the only.
But
thing I
you
can
know,
think
I mean, there's advertisements on there and everything like that. Those shorts can't just be put. Typically, I don't believe they're put together the night of.
No, I know, but
Right.
I'm saying, but you see the fighters wearing red. You're gonna put the blue gloves on her. Can't you just say, let's put a pair of red gloves on you instead?
Well, sometimes there's a reason, obviously, that they'll put them in one corner or another, especially when it's a championship fight or whatever. You know, the challengers in the blue corner, the champions in the red corner. This, obviously, the one you're talking about, this fight is not a championship fight. Like, I get what you're saying. I don't know.
I just think for a big show like Bellator, it's something that could be easily done. No, I'm not saying for smaller shows. I mean, that's probably a bit more difficult.
I have no idea.
So.
That's above my pay grade, or I just haven't asked about it. That's what it really comes down to. So, but no, I mean, I just again, I thought this was an interesting round. I thought it was the more interesting of the 3 rounds on the prelims, just because there was actually like, it's like, well, why are we even talking about this? And it's like, oh, okay, that's why we're talking about that.
That's why
it was kind of cool.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's enough. We finished with this marathon of contested rounds. Move on to the finishes, guy. 6 in the UFC, 3 subs, 3 TKOs, 4 ended in the first round. Bellator had 4 finishes, 1 sub, 3 by a TKO or KO, except 2 of those were injury TKOs, which is, one of those like unfortunate type of doctor stoppage,
Yeah, well, yeah, one was
Conor McGregor style.
One was a Chris Weidman, Anderson Silva type loss.
Yes, that was an unfortunate. It looked like a broken shin or something.
Yeah, it didn't look as gruesome as those 2 were. It looked. I was able to tolerate this one a bit somehow.
I mean, at this point I've become so desensitized to all of that. It's ridiculous. I used to be like, I wouldn't watch, like, my mom would watch, like, let's say, like, ER or a show like ER, right? And they were doing, like, surgeries, and then something would come on the TV. I'm like, I can't look. And now I'm just like, oh, that guy broke his ankle. He's trying to walk on it, and he fell.
If I know, it's like watching replays of it is tough, but watching it live, I'm kind of like, oh, wow, that's not good. But knowing it's going to happen on a replay, I'm always just bracing for it and getting ready, and it's like, oh.
I know, like hardcore wrestling fans who like they know all they know all about like Sid Vicious, right?
Yeah,
and they can't watch it, and I'm like, I could watch it a bunch. Whatever, doesn't matter. I mean, I'm not like sitting there salivating at watching him break his leg. I'm just like, I could stomach it. It's fine. Anyway, we're very off topic here. We have favorite finishes. I'll just spoil it for you. We didn't pick anything from the actual UFC or Bellator.
It was from this week, though.
It was from this week. You went with one. You can do it. What was your favorite finish of the week?
Tuesday night, Bo Nickel getting a triangle, ditching the mount to attack the triangle, being so confident in his grappling, locking it up, getting the tap. It was awesome. That kid is going places.
I've got an ad campaign for him that he might want to try. It's never been done before. Bo knows, and we have him do like different sports.
Okay,
and that would be kind of neat. And maybe he could even like try a different sport, like while he's in season of another sport.
Could do that.
No one's ever done this before. I think it'd be wild.
Maybe start a TV show called Pro Stars.
I would Pro Stars.
Yeah,
that's what's up.
Mm-hmm.
This is not the first time you've brought up Pro Stars, I think, on this show.
It was one of my favorite shows as a kid.
I liked watching it too. There's only like 7 episodes. It's not that many. Maybe it's more than that.
What about you?
So again, my favorite finish also was not from UFC or Bellator, and it wasn't even from a UFC spinoff like yours. Mine came from Invicta. Middle of the week, former guest of the show, Jillian DeCourcy, who I wrote about for New York Post, did a feature on her, went out to her gym, spoke to her. She gets the win, the 105-pound championship of Invicta, which is essentially it's the North American champion, right, is what it really comes down to. She's the North American atomweight champion now. But the way she did it, I thought was really great. She had a nice little back. Did you watch this, by the way? You went back and watched it? Okay. Yep. She had a really nice back take. It was very slick because she was kind of up against the cage, right? She's clinched up. It's not a great spot. This was something I actually watched her train. Not this particular move, but I watched her working from trying to escape from her back on the cage, right? It was just, they drill everything, right? This was just the day I was there. But yeah, she gets out and rapidly she's on the back. It was wild.
Yeah.
Great back take.
Seized their opportunity.
And able to lock in the rear naked and got it just the tap just before the end of the round.
Mm-hmm.
Champion. Really impressive. Yeah. So New York has a champion.
The number 1 atomweight in the world.
Well, not exactly. Okay. It's definitely debatable. We don't know because Ryzen has a very good division over there.
It might have been according to Tapology.
Is it Tapology?
Tapology might be number 1.
And I'm not trying to slight her. It's just there is debate here because there's I forget her name. She just competed over the weekend actually. At one championship also has.
Oh, Stamp?
No, not Stamp.
Not Stamp.
Or maybe she didn't compete over the weekend. It's
Angela Lee?
No.
Okay.
No.
Oh.
Anyway, one throws a monkey wrench into
well.
everything. I did not watch one actually, so
I had a big weekend.
She's like 5-0 or 6-0 in MMA, and she's already number 1 in this weight class, which is why it's like, man, it'd be interesting to watch a crossover situation with Invicta, and that's why I just want the UFC to get on board with putting the atom weights in there at this point.
Okay.
We don't need featherweight in the UFC anymore. They have proven for years they're not supporting this weight class. Chelsea Chandler just won over the weekend. They were saying like she would prefer to fight at 45, and there's like nothing for her. It's like if you're not even gonna give someone who wants to fight at that weight class, like get rid of it. You want to have Amanda Nunes have the belt until she's done with it. Okay, fine. But why don't we add an atomweight division? Let's bring in the best in the world. Let's let some of these strawweights that are in the UFC who want to go down, let them go down. Okay. I think it'd be fascinating. I think it's time. I think it's long past time.
All right.
Yeah. That's my soapbox. and there is no UFC or Bellator this weekend, dude.
No, we got another.
There's no one. Off. There's no. I don't think there's Ryzen. There's no PFL. No Invicta during the week.
Well, UFC's cleaning the Apex after that crazy party they threw. All those people there.
Don't get me started again. Do you really want to go there again?
No,
you don't.
We're
you
good.
Really don't. No one came to the Facebook event. Anyway. So UFC's back the next week in Vegas with a fight night. Bellator doesn't come back until October 29th, end of the month, and PFL doesn't come back until November 25th, by the way, in New York. Did you know that?
I did after I saw it written here.
Oh, well, that's good. So I revealed it with the outline. Okay.
You did.
Are you going to go?
I'm possibly.
You should go. It's right here. And this is the championship event. Shane Burgos is fighting on it, too. He's fighting against Marlon Moraes. There's some good fights here, dude.
If Shane can get me floor seats, I'm in. Last time he got me floor seats, kind of. He fought on the card.
I don't think he had any involvement in it.
I'll give him the credit for it, though.
But he didn't do that.
He might have.
I can ask him.
Yeah, let's ask him.
No, I'm not going to do that. But you should go. I mean, and it's also pay-per-view, by the way. So if you're going to watch it at home, you still have to pay for it. So you might as well just go.
All right.
If it's already here.
Yeah, I will not be at UFC. It's not going to be $500 to get in the door, I hope.
I don't know what the tickets are going to be. I think they might have sent that information out. I got to double check.
Yeah, if you get that information, give it to me.
I can almost guarantee it's not $500 to get in the door.
Okay,
it's still it's at the Hulu Theater. I don't think anything in that.
I like the Hulu Theater.
It's a nice intimate venue, but also there's, especially when I was there last time over the summer, there was a lot of cranes in the way and obstructed views, and I didn't love that.
Okay.
Kind of bothered me. But I sat off to the sides. If you're able to sit anywhere in the middle, I bet you're in a much better spot.
All right. Good to know.
Yeah.
All right. That does it for this episode. We'll be back again on Monday. Scott may have some data for us. We'll probably have a past judgment.
Yeah, we'll figure something out. Maybe we can talk about there's some other things going on in the judging world, other rounds that have been of interest and things like that. So
all right.
We'll see.
Thanks for listening.
Take care, everybody.